Yep. Good morning, everyone. So yesterday we learned about TypeScript variables related basic. So we discussed about what is TypeScript language basics we are learning. In that variables and data types we discussed. So what we learned about variable and data type is what is difference between JavaScript and TypeScript that we learned. So what is new in TypeScript variables and variables? Data types are same. What data types we use in JavaScript, the same types we use here. Only the difference, the variables are strongly typed. And we discussed about union of types. We discussed about type inference. What is type inference? Type inference means the data type of a variable is determined according to the value you initialize. Even you don't define the data type, the value you initialize it, based on that, the data type is determined. So we generally call that mechanism type inference, right? And we discussed about primitive and non-primitive types. We discussed what is difference in creating object as well as arrays, right? Array and object, how to configure them. Now, actually, one more concept is we discussed about array. What is difference in TypeScript array? TypeScript array allows similar type and different types. Actually, JavaScript array allows different types, but here you can restrict for same type. What is a tuple? What is a tuple? Tuple is a collection that allows to initialize and assign different types of values. If it allows to initialize and assign different types of values, then we call it as a tuple. How it is possible? By allocating memory using meta character, not by using constructor. We can allocate memory for array using meta character and constructor. Even if the data type is any, with the constructor, if you define, it is not going to allow us to initialize different type of value. Tuple means it should allow initialization and assignment of different types of values. So you can do that only with meta character, array meta character. Next, we discussed about object type, how we declare object, and we discussed about optional keys, right? How you configure optional keys. Optional keys are configured by using null reference character question mark. So we are learning about the data types, how you define the data types. In that array type, object type we learned. Now the question is, how do we configure? This all I explained yesterday. Now another is today we will see array of objects. Array of objects. How you define array of objects? Generally in JavaScript we directly store them, but here how we define array of objects. So array of objects. So you can configure strongly typed array with a schema based object. Schema based objects are nothing but structured objects. Array with schema based objects, structured objects. You can configure strongly typed array with the schema based objects. So suppose in yesterday session, so in yesterday's session, we designed this one, TypeScript. Yeah. So we created an object and it have a certain schema. According to the schema, it has to design. We discussed that mandatory optional keys are present. Now I want to maintain an array called products. It should be an array of products. And every product needs an ID, name, some price like that. Then generally how do we define is, how do we configure strongly typed is colon. We need an object type array. That's how we define. This is an array of objects. That means we need object, but what square brace indicates many objects. Object and square brace indicates many. That means it is an array of objects. And what should be every object? Every object should have a name, which is string type. It should have a price, which is number type. That's the array. Allocate the memory here. Now, how do we store data into this? To store the data, products. Products, so is an array. So into that means I need to configure an array. And in that array, we need to define objects. And see, it is showing error because every object needs two properties. One is name, another one price. And it is mandatory that name must be what type? String, and price must be number. It is compulsory. Suppose I define name, but I am not mentioning price, so still it is error. I have to mention price, and now it is okay. It is fine. Now I am missing anything, name, some mobile, and it shows an error saying that price is missing. And if I make price optional, that is okay, no problem. It can be okay. This is the structured data. How do you configure the structured data? So now you see price, and you can store some price into this. Roughly, I am adding something. This is how you maintain an array of objects. We need to mention the data type as object and object of array. So what is problem in JavaScript is, in JavaScript, it is not schema based. Not schema based means, actually, you know, in JavaScript, what is problem? Suppose demo.js I am creating. Suppose products I am giving array. In that object is name, it is TV. and price, some price. Second object name is number, it will take. It will not have any restriction. I given price as something else, so it will take. There is no restriction. It is not structured. It is an valid one in JavaScript. If you know JavaScript, already know this. There is no restriction for type. And not only that, what can be the, suppose second object can have a title, mobile, can have cost. So that means completely different titles. One object is having one key, another object is having another key. That even spelling mismatches also it will work. It will consider it. This is completely structureless data in your JavaScript, but now it is restricted. You can maintain a correct structured data using TypeScript because you can mention what keys are required. You can mention what data type must be for those keys. Everything can be configured. And however, reading and presenting is same. What is reading and presenting? Reading and presenting is same. Means what? Products dot what? Map. You read every product, and for every product we need to log console.log. I am printing here product.name, and suppose I am printing the product.price. For every product we are printing the details. Now I run this. I will run this in a new screen. Yeah. I will open this location in a command prompt so that we can directly run here. So tsc index.ts and node index.js. It is going to get that and show. Here our main concept is how you manage the object of array, right? How do you define array of objects? So here the data type is defined as object that handles array. That means syntactically let some values is an object type array. That's how we need to configure. How we need to configure. And what is this curly brace? It sets rules for object. What is this square brace? It handles multiple values. That is the point. The rules for object and multiple values. To handle multiple values, you need meta character. So that is array of objects. So how to deal with an object, how to deal with an array, and how do we deal array of objects? Mixed. Example, I will copy this one. This is an example for that. As I told you, manipulations are same. Huh? Manipulations are same. Array methods, object methods are same. There is no difference in that, right? Next, in the data types, another important data type we are going to see here is map type. Another important is map type. You already have a map type in JavaScript. I don't need to explain that. Only the point is how do you configure here. So the constructor, that means the class here, map, is used to configure a map type. And what is the purpose of map? Here speciality is there. What is difference between object and map in JavaScript? It is a popular question in React interviews. For experienced people also, we have seen this question. What is difference between object and map? Object keys must be only string type, and map key can be any type. Map key can be any type. Generally in object, keys must be only string, and in a map, the key can be any type. And in an object, to manipulate object, you need explicit methods. To delete a key, to find a key, to read the keys, we need external methods. But map implicit methods. It internally have methods for reading the keys, removing the keys, adding the keys and all. So map is faster when compared to object. But what is problem with map is schemaless, structureless. Object is structured. Object is structured means key value structured. But here it is completely structureless key values because one key can be string, another key can be number. That is the problem with map in JavaScript. But in TypeScript, map have a specialty. Later in TypeScript, I will tell you about generic concept. We will learn about generics later. In OOP concepts, we will learn so many. Actually, what is the specialty of map in TypeScript is it is a generic type. It is a generic type in TypeScript. What are generics? You will learn in OOP concept separately. Detailedly, we will learn OOP concept. So many points are there. What is the difference between map and object originally in JavaScript is map key can be any type. So, but object key must be only string type. But here we can change it. You can make keys strongly typed for specific data type. So JavaScript map keys handle any type. Keys handle any type. But here you can make keys strongly typed. You can make them handle strongly typed means specific. You can restrict keys to a specific data type. Actually in JavaScript, they are any type. Here we have both facilities. You can configure any or restrict to specific. You can configure any or restrict to specific. You can configure any or restrict to specific. That is the type. So what is generic means I will tell you here. Technically, when you define map type, actually you see how do you write map is. In JavaScript directly map is configured, but here we are defining data. This data must be map type. So we need to assign a map class. Actually map is an interface. We'll see later interfaces. It's a generic type. Generic type means what? You put an angle bracket. In the angle bracket, you mention the key type and value type. Key type is suppose string and value type is number. Then it will define data with only this. That means you allocate the memory as new map. Memory is allocated. Now what is the point? You know JavaScript map, how it handles. What are map methods? We have getter, setter, has, so many map methods are there. What are the methods? Data.set. Now you will see that set key is only string type and value must be number type. We can put a restriction for only that. Actually, what is the JavaScript map? Key any type, value any type. And JavaScript object key string type, value any type. But here now we can put our own restrictions. Key can be number, value can be string, key can be any type also you can give. So that means key must be a string and the value must be a number. You must define only that. Anything else is not allowed. So how do we get that? So console.log, you know that what we have to do, data.get. Get key. Key is a string type. Then it will get the value and show. And already you know data have keys, data have entries, data have values. All these are map methods. I explained them in the beginning of data types in React also. I explained them. Object, map, how to handle them. These are all general JavaScript methods only, but only the difference here, the map can restrict the types. Earlier it is any type key, any type value. Now we have a restriction. Suppose I want key as number and value can be any. Then what you have to do? We need to create some list. It is a map type. Key must be what type? Number. Value must be what type? Any. New map. That means it is going to create a map, allocate the memory. Now in this you can store anything. This is a generic. You want to use like JavaScript, then what to do? Like JavaScript you want to use, then what to do? We have to make a map, any type key and any type value is equal to new map. That is JavaScript type. JavaScript type means what? In JavaScript, key can be any type, value can be any type. In that case, one key can be string, another key can be number. We can define any. But what is specialty in TypeScript is it allows you to restrict the map with specific type of keys and specific type of values. This is called as generic actually. Later you will learn about these generics in OOP concept I will explain. But here, how do we configure the generic type? That means here I given generic. Syntactically, we have to define let data is map, key type, and here we have to define value type is equal to new map. Allocate the memory. So the key and all the methods are same. What are the methods? We have a getter, we have a setter. So we have has, we have keys. So we have values, we have entries, we have delete, remove, we have clear. All these are the map methods of JavaScript. All JavaScript map methods are same. Only the way how you configure is different. What is the data type of key? What is the data type of value? Right? This is just a syntax to understand. So these are the keys and value references, right? Right. Technically, this is example. I'm just giving an example of the way of how we declare them. These are not for to run and execute. I'm just showing the declaration concept here because later you will implement them, right? So what is difference in JavaScript and TypeScript? In array, in object, and in map? How do you configure the maps and use them? These we are not teaching you anything here because these are all JavaScript concepts only. Difference only I need to explain. And what about another data type, date type? Generally, in your JavaScript, there is no restriction about date type because in a variable you can store any value. Similarly, you can store date also. But here for date, we have a date constructor you can configure. So you can configure strongly typed date values in TypeScript. So how do you define the strongly typed date values? Actually, all date and time functions are same as in JavaScript. So syntactically, just only one concept where suppose let we are using now, you have to define a date is equal to what? New date. The data type is configured as date and you need to define date. And you know the format. This will loads current date and time. It is going to load current date and time. And you can load specific date and time like by using date is equal to new date. You know the format, year, month, day, hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. That's how we store the date. Specific date, you know that. All date methods are same as I already showed you. We know all the date methods. What are those? Get methods and set methods. All are same. What are get methods? Get date, get day, get month, get year, get hours, get minutes, set hours, set minutes. All getter setter methods are same. So only the point when you are defining the date, configure the data type as date. That's the date types. So there is no much change in the date, just only configure the data type as date. So suppose let now it is a date type is equal to what? New date. And obviously now we'll use all the date functions. We need to access all the date functions. We have getter functions and setter functions, right? There is no change in that. Everything is same. Only the data type is defined. One more important here is a regular expression type. Regular expression type. Regular expression type is another one here. Regular expression type. Actually, we have a separate data type for regular expression. How to write regular expressions in JavaScript in double slash, right? We have to write. Now, TypeScript provides REGEXP as data type for a regular expression. Now, if Data type is regexp. What is allowed inside it? What is allowed inside it? It allows meta characters and quantifiers. It allows meta characters and quantifiers. It allows meta characters and quantifiers actually enclosed in //. So that is regular expression type. How do we define this? LET pattern is an regular expression. / we have to use meta characters, /91/D10 like this. How to write meta characters you already know. Meta characters are enclosed in /. We know that in validation also I showed you. Now how to verify our value with regular expression? How to verify our value with regular expression? By using match method. So value is verified with the regular expression. Value is verified with regular expression by using what? By using match. By using match method. By using match method. This is a very common thing we already know. Now, what should be the value type to verify with regular expression? The value type can be any. Why it can be any? Because regular expression can be number, alphabet, special characters, anything. That means here the value type must be any type to verify with regular expression. Because regular expression can restrict numbers, alphabets, special characters, anything. In that case, the value type must be any type. So in JavaScript, we directly use them. Here, only one additional thing is we need to set the data type. Even I told you already, even you don't mention data type, they will automatically take the type if you initialize any value. If you initialize any value, data type will be determined for them. For example, I am writing LET pattern is using a regular expression and is equal to, I can't store a string inside. Regular expression means it must be in / only. And here we have to define /+91/D like this. We put some pattern inside it. That is how we write regular expression. Suppose I am writing validate and I am writing a regular expression directly into it. That means A-Z and 4,10 like that. I am writing some expression. Then automatically the validate data type is regular expression. That means if you are not defining any data type, it's okay. If you initialize, automatically it will be taken of that particular type. I already told you, this is called type inference. Type inference means you initialize, its data type is fixed now. It is what type? Regular expression. But if you want to write, you can write like this, regular expression. This is the type. How do you configure? No need of any examples because already we know all of them. Date type, time type, regular expression type, we already used everywhere. Only the point, the way of how we declare. That's important in TypeScript. These are all data types we are having. Anything we missed? All are there now. Primitive types, non-primitive types. So arrays, objects, date, regular expression, map, all the data types how to handle. Numbers, booleans, string, null, undefined symbols, everything is same. Now, once we know how to deal with the data types in TypeScript, that means now we know how to declare a variable, how to mention the data type according to our value, So next important in the language is here another note is statements and operators are same as in JavaScript, so no need to discuss them. Statements and operators are same as in JavaScript, so no need to discuss. Arithmetic operators, comparison operators, assignment operators, logical operators. Statements means selection statements, iteration statements, jump statements, looping control statements, exception handling statements, all are same. There is no change in them. How you use in JavaScript, the same we use here also. Just I will give a point here. What are those operators? So what are operators? Arithmetic operators and arithmetic operators. Yeah, arithmetic operators, logical comparison, comparison operators, assignment operators, and bitwise operators. And we have another, what are those? So operators, we are having special operators. Special operators also you learned in JavaScript. In, of, new, void, yield, all these comes under what? Special operators. Arithmetic, logical, comparison, assignment, and all these operators. What about statements? We have selection statements. Selection statements means if, else, switch, case, default. These are selection statements. Iteration statements. So for in and for off. These are iteration statements. Looping statements. So for, while, do while. These are looping statements. Jump statements. Break, continue, return are jump statements. So we have exception handling statements. We know try, catch, throw, finally, all these are exception handling statements. All these statements and operators are same as in JavaScript. So there is no change in this. How you use them in your JavaScript, same. So the difference you will find in variables and configuring variables for handling different data types. That is only one difference. And operators and statements all are same. There is no change in this. Now comes important. One major change is TypeScript functions. In functions concept, some changes you will see. Functions Functions already we are using. This is important because all our components are designed by using functions. That is the reason we should know what is new in functions of TypeScript. What is new is actual function concepts are same. That means what is the first basic point is technically when you write functions, you learn that function can be written as declaration or function can be written as expression. You can write function as expression, function as declaration. That is same in JavaScript and TypeScript, right? So that means you can configure a function with the declaration or expression. These two are allowed. Same thing allowed here also. Function can configure, you can configure a function with the declaration or expression. Already you know, I explained that point in function concept also. In JavaScript functions, you know already. What is declaration? Declaration is function name and parameters and all this. What is expression? Constant. So F1 is equal to function. This is called as what? Expression. This is called as what? Declaration. You know already declaration and expression in JavaScript, same. When to use declaration, when to use the expression, that is what JavaScript will teach you already, you know, right? So TypeScript also have function declaration and function expression, but one change is there. What is the change? So TypeScript function declaration comprises of one is parameter data type and a function with the return data type or void. That is the additional thing we have to define. Parameter data types and a function with return data type or void. If it is not having any return data type, you need to configure as void type. So what is new in TypeScript function is syntactically we write a function and the function name, and here we have to define the parameter. Parameter needs a data type. Parameter must have data type, and the type we have to return data type we have to mention, or we mention as what? Void. This is the syntax of a function in TypeScript. Generally, when you declare a function in JavaScript, you just ignore the data types. But here we need to mention data type. Parameter must have data type, and the function should have return data type or void. If it is not returning anything, then it should be configured as void. That is one change. That is one difference in function, right? So function concept is same, only the data type is important here. Suppose what we are doing, we are writing a function and function name is suppose addition. That means it takes parameters. Then suppose A is a parameter, its data type should be number. B is another parameter, its data type should be number. And its return type should be number. Then in that case, it should return A plus B. That is what we have to do. It cannot return A greater than B. because the return type is number and you are returning a boolean, because this returns a boolean expression na? So it should be a number only. In JavaScript, we don't have that restriction. B can return anything. They can return number, boolean, string, anything. But here they are restricted now. They must return only a number. That means you need to use only an arithmetic operator there. So they must return a number. That's how we configure it. Suppose we are writing a function print. This print function have to print and it will not return anything. You have to configure as what? Void. And if you defined as void, then it can print anything. So console.log I given addition is equal to, we will call addition function. Into that we pass two values into this. Now we call the print function, it will print the details. Now what is the point here is, generally in your JavaScript functions, there is no restriction for data type. Suppose in JavaScript, what is the problem is, suppose in JavaScript you write a function and you write addition and you give an a comma b, and what we do, we return a plus b. But when I am calling addition, into that I give an a comma b, it will take that, because it will work as concatenation. It will work as concatenation. It will take string and it will work as concatenation. But now in this case, you cannot pass a string into this. Even the operator is plus, you cannot pass a string into this. Why? Because the data type of A is strictly number. That is the problem in JavaScript. That means we are expecting a number, but it is expecting any type. You can store anything into this. Now we can put restrictions. And actually this can return anything greater than B. And if it is not possible to verify, then what it will do? It will return some error at runtime. So technically, this function concept in JavaScript is not strongly typed. Now in TypeScript, we have strongly typed. The concept is same. Here we are defining. Now when you run this, and the function will execute same. Everything is same, just data types are important. But here some rules are there. So data types are same. Example I will give here. What are the important rules here is, what is the concept speciality about new thing in TypeScript is, what is the new concept about TypeScript is, TypeScript function can have optional parameters. How do you configure optional parameter? Question mark. Question mark is used for optional parameters. That means you can use a null reference character and you can configure optional parameters. TypeScript function can have optional parameter. But here one rule is there. What is the rule is, so optional parameter cannot be last parameter. Or you can say that as, sorry, optional parameter must be last parameter. Last parameter. Rest parameter, optional parameter must be last parameter. What is the meaning of this is, a required parameter cannot be there after optional. A required parameter cannot be there after optional. Optional parameter must be last. That is important. That means you see, Here I'm defining a function. Details is a function. It is expecting ID, number type, name, string type, price, also number type. And it is a void type. And we have this. Now, what is the concept here is, so ID is number, name is string, price is number. Now, I want price optional. That is okay. Price is optional. That is fine. Now, after price, I am adding stock, and it is Boolean. Stock is Boolean. It is not allowing. Why it is not allowing? Stock is a required parameter, and required parameter cannot precede an optional parameter. Optional parameter must be last. And you see that is the warning it says. A required parameter cannot follow an optional parameter. That is the basic rule. That means all optional parameters must be at the end. That means here, if stock is also optional, no problem. But if it is unrequired, you cannot be like this. That means a required parameter cannot follow optional parameter. That is basic rule. So make sure that all optional parameter must be last. Why? Because a required parameter cannot follow an optional parameter. That is important. A required parameter cannot follow optional parameters. So syntactically, function have a name, parameter 1, and its type. Param2 question mark, parameter 2 and question mark, and its type. This is valid. This is valid. But you defined a function with a name. Param1 is optional and param2 is not optional. This is invalid. You cannot define in this way. Parameter 1 is optional, then parameter 2 cannot be required. It must be optional. Make sure that optional parameters are towards the end. How to verify optional parameters are provided or not? Same JavaScript logic. Optional parameters passed or not. How to verify? Optional parameters are verified by using undefined type. By using undefined, if the parameters are not defined with a value, then obviously they return what? Undefined. We have to verify with undefined. Already you know how to handle that. So this is one rule about parameter. What is the rule? You can have optional parameters and required parameters, but optional parameter must be last. And other concepts are same. What are other concepts? Here undefined also I will give one example. Suppose price is there. How to handle price? We will write if price. If a price. What does it means? If price is defined, then what we do? Console.log. We will print ID and /n. We will print name and we will print price. If a price is not defined else, then obviously we will not price and name. That means we verify by using undefined. So in one case, details, we are passing ID and name only. So that means it is going to print only those. TSC and index, it is printing ID and name. In another case, we are presenting so ID, name and price also. Then obviously it is going to present that price also for the second one. So second one. First one it is only 2, but second one it is printing all. We can configure that by using undefined, right? That is the same JavaScript logic we need to understand here. And what is another concept is, remember, function is not new for us. Already same thing. What is new I am explaining. Now another option is a function can configure REST parameter. You know REST parameter, spread operators are same. But what is the REST parameter data type? A function can have REST parameters. Na? What is the data type of REST parameter? Array type. REST parameter type is array. So when you are trying to declare a REST parameter in a function, you should configure as array. Otherwise it cannot manage. And what is the REST parameter array type means? Actually, suppose I want to define a REST parameter. REST parameter means one parameter can access all. How one parameter can access all? Dot, 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 the parameter name. But it is showing error. Why? Because it is what? Array. It should be defined as array. It should be defined as array. But see, it is defined as array. Product is an array. But what type array? It is any type array. Now it is valid. Why any type array? Because one can be a number, another can be string, another can be boolean. Arguments can be any type. If you are expecting all arguments number, you can make it number type array. That means all arguments must be what type? Number. And you know that how to access them. Destructuring architecture. Na? What is destructuring? LET. We have ID and we have name and what? Price is equal to, what is it? Product. This is destructuring architecture. That means the product related index number 0 will be here. Index number 1 is here, 2 is here. We already know this in JavaScript. So this is array destructure, right? So what is the point now? Whenever you define REST parameter, the REST parameter must be configured as array type. And it can be actually a number type array also. Then you see it is not allowing string type. It is allowing only number type. So that is one new option here. Any type, then you can configure any type. So REST parameter can configure REST parameters, but important, REST parameter must be defined as array type. It can be strongly typed array with a specific type of arguments or any type. It can be strongly typed array with specific type of arguments or any type. Syntactically, function can have a dot 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 params, and it is can have a number type array. If it is defined as number type array, what is the meaning of that? Now the arguments into this must be all numbers only. It must be all numbers only. You can have a name params and it is any type array. In that case, it can have any. Name can have a number, it can have a string, it can have a boolean, anything you can define. So you can configure an array. Now, already we know the rules of REST parameter. The REST parameter, what are the rules? There can be only one REST parameter in a function, and REST parameter must be last. Rest spread everything same. There is no change. But only the point data type. We have to configure the data type. So, example, just I will copy this one. Index.ts, same example is there. So that is the point about type. So function, what is new in function is function parameters with data type, function return with type. Whatever other topics you learned about function are same. What your topics you learned about function, function closures, function with return, function recursions, function related callbacks, function promises, everything is same. Right? I given a list now in the beginning. Even in React also while starting function, I given a list of functions concept. Right? So all the other concepts are same. Only what you need to take care is about data type, return type, and the value type of parameters. How do you define that? Right? Now, what about promises, callbacks, everything same? For example, because generally how to declare a promise? Suppose fetch data, I want to make it like a promise. Usually what we do, we have a promise type. We have a promise type. When you configure a promise type, you have a new promise. You need to define a new promise. And what is the promise? You see, this is defining as a promise, and promise is a generic type. Generic type means what type of arguments it is going to handle. You have to mention the type. It is any type. Promise must able to handle any type. And actually here the promise contains a callback function. This function contains two functions. One is resolve function on success. Another one is reject function on failure. That means what they have to do? They have to resolve and reject. They are the functions. Already promises you know in JavaScript, right? Only the point here, we have to define promise type. Promise type. And remember, this promise type, suppose I given a number. What does it means? What does it means? That means here the resolve and reject should return a number only. Generally, a promise can return anything. a message or a value or data because you are using fetch. Suppose I want the promise to return only an object, or I want a promise to return only an array of objects, specific type of array of objects. Then how do you define the data type? Object means you need to configure like this. That means now promise must return only name string type. It should return only price, so number type. That means now the resolve function must return only that. It should return only. Generally, a promise can return any, but now here we can put restrictions because promise is a generic type. Function promises is a new concept. Promise already we know. Here promise is a generic type. That means when you configure a promise, you can restrict the return type of resolve and reject. Actually resolve, what is reject? Reject is a reason. Reject can be any type. Why? Because reject is an error. Error can be any type. You can configure error as any. But resolve must be only the type that you have mentioned for promise. That means if promise successfully executes, it should return only the data type that you have defined. If promise is not successfully executed, reject is any message. You can put any error message. Error message can be status code or status message. It can be number string. That means now the type will work only for resolve. It will not work for reject. That means what we do generally, suppose I am using let URL is equal to, I will ask here. So URL is we are taking https://fakestore.com. Roughly I'm giving it. We will write a condition. What is it? If URL is equal to same https://fakestore.com, then what it has to do? It should resolve. Resolve should execute. And what resolve should do? It should return an object. And that object should contain a name. And it should contain a price. Only one object it should return. Remember, only one object it should return. And if it is a object type array, then it can return multiple. We can make a promise to return any type. We can restrict promise to return a specific type. So now it is only one object. Okay, else if it is not, then it will use what? Reject. And reject can send any reason saying that invalid URL. That means API not found. Something like messages we are giving. Now what is the point here? How to run this, how to execute this, you know. What we have to do, fetch data is a promise. How to access the promises dot then will contain a callback. Then catch finally. These are the three methods of promise. Then means it uses a function. It will collect the data on response. And what it will do, it will present the data, console.log, whatever data comes. What is catch? Catch is a function which will collect the error and it will report the error, console.log, what is the error. That means what happens? So on success, this data will come here, am I right? And on failure, this will come here. That is how you learn JavaScript promises, how to define them. Same, only the point is data type for promise. And promise is a generic type now. When you define the functions in TypeScript, it is a generic type. You see now we are defining like this. Node, first TypeScript. And you see it is showing some error. What is the error? it is saying that promise is available only from ES 15 or later, right? Because it's a new concept. And we know that already we are using. So it is not an error. It is just an warning saying that your library, if it is older version, please update it. But our library is latest version only, no problem. So what we do, node what? Index.js. It will execute it. It will execute. You don't worry about, means I already told you yesterday, don't confirm with red lines. You read the message, what it is showing, right? So the point is now our API is having, suppose fake store is having a server.com, some wrong URL we entered. When we entered wrong URL and again compile it and run it, this time you see now when I run it again, it will say error. Promise will return this. So what is new in promise? So here TypeScript promise. So promise function uses a generic type. Promise function uses a generic type. It allows to restrict specific data type on resolve. However, the reject function is always any type. However, the reject function is always any type. Resolve only specific type. We can restrict to specific type. I am not explaining what is a promise here. We know already. So syntactically, when you type data is a promise. So here suppose fetch is a promise and it must be type, data type. New promise, and it can have a callback function with resolve and reject. And usually this resolve should return only the data type, and reject can return any type. It can return any type. And we already know, so fetch uses a then function, then uses a callback function. What is this callback function? Collects the data. Catch is a function. It will collect the error. Finally is a function which will return anything. That is actually the syntax of a promise. Promise returns this. And already you learned in JavaScript, a promise can have multiple then blocks. A promise can have multiple then. So on resolve, on success, it can resolve multiple. It can resolve multiple. Right. So function promises, you will find some new concept here. Function promises, you will find new. This is an example for that. And I will copy this example. That's the example for that, right? This is index.js, sorry, TS. So what is new in functions? These are the new concepts in functions. Rest of all points are same. Here interesting concept will come. What is the data type of a function component in React.js? In React.js, we will write a function component, export function login. Am I right? Now it needs a data type. Generally, what a component returns. So it should be JSX element type. The data type is return type is JSX element type. Right? Why? Because what a login function will do, it will return. What it will return? It will return this markup that is called JSX now. Right? The return is JSX. So this is JSX element. The return type is JSX element type. It's not a number or a string or any markup. It is element type. And which element? JSX element. Not HTML element. There is a HTML element type also. HTML element type is DOM type. This JSX element is virtual DOM type. So that is the new thing you will see there. But already we know that even I don't write this, according to my return, it will mention as JSX element. It will consider it automatically. So that is actually the point. So this is the function related concepts, how the functions actually work. What is difference in functions of JavaScript and this? Now, what is completely new is TypeScript. TypeScript have a OOP concepts. This is completely new. You will find so many things that you don't have in JavaScript. And what are those? We will learn here. We will discuss about them. That we'll see in next session. Right? In next session, we will start learning about the OOP concept of TypeScript. And if we finish the OOP concept, then we can use the TypeScript in our React projects. Right? So now TypeScript OOP, what is new, we will see. And next session will be on Tuesday, Monday holiday. Monday Institute completely holiday, right? On Ramzan, so Institute declares a holiday. We will have next session on Tuesday. So we will again meet on Tuesday. Okay, right. Thank you.